Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for another exciting episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we are back with Reflection 329, and it's a brand new book. The book is The Grieving Brain: The Surprising Science of How We Learn from Love and Loss
Right.
by Mary Frances O'Connor. I'm always been interested in like how the brain functions and all that for a long
Yeah.
time. And I don't know.
It's
That's what I
interesting.
say.
So, as you just mentioned, this book's called The Grieving Brain. It's about the science of how we learn from love and loss by Mary Frances O'Connor. So, it basically is exactly that, right? This PhD psychologist, Mary Frances O'Connor, studies people that are going through grief, science behind it, and what happens, what doesn't happen, and tries to lay it all out. Obviously, as you know, and as anybody that's been listening to any of these podcasts and or following any of this Your Magical Learning Journey, this is a topic that's personal for me as I've been going through the grieving process, the past, I don't even know, it doesn't ever stop, but like whatever you call this process of losing something incredibly important in your life and going through grief with losing my daughter. So the reason why this book is appearing at 329 is because it took me a really long time to even want to explore these kind of topics. This was way later into the journey of going, okay, I think I'm ready to explore these things slowly but surely over time. I started to dive a little. We just did that one that was the 5 invitations about the loss as well, and grieving and people dying, and what that looks like, and yada yada yada. Right. So all this stuff for me was, I think this was a sign for me personally that I was marrying up the learning that I love to do with my daughter now with trying to understand a little bit more about what happened in our life together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it was an interesting journey. So I started this reflection off by the reflection title for this one is The Ultimate Learning Journey. And like, quite bluntly, grief is the shittiest thing in the world. It's
Yeah, I
horrible.
don't
Like
think
this,
anyone can disagree with that.
I mean, well, you know who might? Malcolm Gladwell and his desirable disadvantages.
Say that, but deep down,
I'm kidding. But yeah, no, it just absolutely sucks. And this is, I'm going to go back to our atomic bomb analogy, right? Grief literally changes everything. The one thing that Mary Frances O'Connor talked about, one of the concepts in this book that really stuck in my own mind is mental maps. She said, like, one of the reasons why humans are able to think about your own home, navigating in the dark. Can you walk around your house in the dark?
yep.
Because you know where everything is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentally. I mean, it's like in your head, you're like, oh, your spatial awareness, like you know where things are. I don't need a lot of organization. Like I don't need things to be like perfectly categorized. I just need to know where things are. Otherwise my brain goes fucking haywire, right? Like as long as I know where I put something
Yeah,
and
you have a spatial
off,
map in
right.
your head because your even your like your senses, like your sense of touch,
Yeah.
meaning that there are certain things that hey, I'm getting closer to this wall, I'm getting closer to this door. You can feel it in your hair and on your arm.
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm almost there, right? And you can probably walk through the house because you've been there so much that your cells in your body almost have like a memory of its own. This is how people use that as a memory palace. So how people
Yep.
remember the sequence of orders. Hey, well, I walked through the door. On the left, I have my kitchen, and then down for the kitchen, I have another room, and blah blah blah. So you know that, and you can describe to anyone that, hey, tell me about your house, how you get there. You can walk through it using the memory in your head
Right.
without having to
Yeah,
remember
without
it.
even having to
It's
physically walk. Right. You don't even
yeah.
need to actually walk through your house. You can mentally walk through your house like easily, and
My table is on the right, and it's glass table, and next to the glass table is a bookshelf. And next to the bookshelf is this pantry, and next to the pantry, so you know exactly everything in almost like clarity detail,
oh yeah.
as if you're there. And so to
Yeah.
me, we have this spatial
Yeah.
map of our
How we
home.
navigate it's how we navigate the world. I mean, like honestly, like that's something I learned from this book was like the mental mapping that we put together, right? And then grief is like, let's say that there's do you have like a favorite chair you sit in or something like that, in your house? Is there something that you're like is like that this is, if somebody moves it, you're gonna get pissed. You're like,
Yes,
no, what is it? Yeah, tell me.
I have a little small chair. It's almost like a kitty chair that I sit in, and it's
Gotcha.
right next to the couch. So that's chair I go and sit there every time.
Right.
So every time it's not there or it's moved or something's on it, I get pissed.
That's fair. I'm the same way with my own go-to chair, like with grief. That chair, I'm sure you can visualize exactly where that chair is right now, what's on it, where whatever, how it feels.
You can remember the stain that's on it.
Right. Yeah, and you'll remember when it happened and when so keep that image in your head. Now, pretend that chair is gone forever. Now, just like right now, it's gone. Like the atomic bomb, right? Blows up. That chair never existed.
It can't be processed.
This is grief, right? Going, that was there. This is no longer there anymore. What happened?
Basically, if I imagine that, it's really like almost like a system glitch in a way, because I cannot imagine it's not there. That's not how the brain works. But it's not there. But it's there. Right. But it's not there. Right? So that, to me, it's like I cannot imagine it's not there, because every time I imagine it's not there, it comes back. But then I look at it, it's not there. Yep. So it's like it creates this confusion inside your head.
Massive confusion.
Your head is basically like a computer that is glitched, or it's like an overloaded system.
It's exactly what it is, right? So like we've talked a lot about this atomic bomb, metaphor, right? You're in Hiroshima. It's what day was it in Hiroshima? What day did that blast go off? August 6th, 1945, right? You wake up, you go get, I'm just going to do my own house, right? I wake up, I go in my bathroom, I take my vitamins, like I know exactly where they are. They're on the little pill thing over here. And then, I go get the dog, I let the dog out. She goes outside, she goes to the bathroom. I come back in, I grab a little mug off of my little mug shelf, above my coffee, my Keurig. I make a cup of tea in the Keurig. Then I go get a little meal bar. I go upstairs, and where I'm at right now, I go do my typing, go finish all that stuff up, go back downstairs, get Luca, which is, around the corner in his area. We do all this stuff, right? Do your morning routine. Then I go get him off ready for school, drop him off, come back, go on a jog, come back into the house, make some breakfast, know where all the dishes are, everything. And life's good. Sit down and eat some food. And then all of a sudden, like blows up, right? And you're like, what the fuck just happened? You close your eyes and you wake up, everything around you, your coffee mugs are all gone, your house is gone, basically. I mean, at that point in time, you walk out the door that's barely hanging on now, and you see all the trees are gone in your yard. All the road is no longer in your area. All your neighbors' houses are gone. Like, you have no idea where your kids are, what happened to them, what didn't happen to them, if you're ever going to see them ever again. You're just literally staring out at this abyss going, everything that you remembered and it was your routine and your life and where you knew everything was is fucking gone. Yeah. Like
you literally can't process it. I mean, I'm imagining it, but I can't process it, because I'm saying, well, it's there, but now it's not there. I have this feeling of a panic of sorts. I don't know if so. I'm kind of like, the system doesn't do anything because it can't function, right? Yeah. It can't. You ask me, what do I do next? I don't know, because the system's not working.
You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You don't have any idea.
I cannot take the next step, right? I cannot take the next step, and I have this feeling of panic in a way, because it's like the system is out of whack, or it's glitched and it's panicking. So imagine it's some kind of a computer, right? It's panicking, it's trying to get it back online, and it's trying to do the next thing, which is whatever its sequence is. It cannot get the next sequence. It's stuck there in a way.
Yeah.
And it's almost like paralyzed.
It's fucked up. I mean,
even as I'm imagining this right now, I'm getting that feeling. And if you ask me what to do next, I don't know.
You're in two places at once. So, I mean, I don't know if you remember the story from my book, I Can't Imagine, or Amelia and my book. After Amelia passed away, I don't know, I feel like it was for at least the first, like, almost week. And it kind of happened on and off again in the future. But we had spent so much time in the NICU and right next to her all day long, and the little purple recliner chair at Riley Hospital for Children. Like, it had become like our job, like, I mean, it was like, I know it was only 39 days, but I mean, that's enough time to settle into some habits, and especially when it's somebody that matters more to you than anything in the world, and you're going through so much first few days after.
And it's harder because, I think what I'm seeing is, for you, it's the imprint is very deep.
Very deep, very, like, I mean, this was my home, right? Like, this was like, I mean, wherever she is my home, like, and I don't really care where, like, you would say the same thing about your kids too. I mean, if you're like, hey, they all wanted to move to California, you're like, no, I'm gonna stay here. Like, no, I mean, like, where they are is where you want to, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's how you feel, but like, That's how I would feel. It's like I wouldn't want, especially when they're young still. I think
Right.
when they're adults, it's fine.
When they need you and you need them, right? This is when the imprint is so strong
It's
that when
everything.
you have this glitch, it creates this really high level panic in your
It's a dual reality.
emotional system, and you completely, in a way, a dual system where there's one and there isn't, and it keeps switching, and you can't control when it switch.
You can't, yeah. I mean, I remember having dreams every night after Amelia passed away, and I was back in the NICU, literally. I mean, I thought I was in the NICU. It was the most disorienting experience that I think I've ever had in my life. Apparently I talk in my sleep a lot. I think I just dream a lot, and I just talk out loud as I'm dreaming. My wife has made fun of me many times before where I'm like having full conversations with her, and and she's like, okay, right. Like, like eventually she just, like in like loving, joking ways, right? Well, these conversations were I literally woke up and I was like, I am in the NICU. I was so disoriented. I was like, she's here, I'm here, like, what's happening? When doctors talk to me, like, and she's like literally having to calm me down. And
Like I
like,
say, you're almost inside of a panic zone.
yeah,
You
I
panicking,
was. I
and
couldn't tell where I was.
and,
I didn't know where I was. I mean, I can't describe it more than that. I did not know where I physically was at.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, even for me to start imagining, I'm starting getting like this panic feeling, just to tell you how much it will affect the person who actually have something that is real. I mean, for us, for whatever reason, our brain cannot process that. Like I
yep,
say, our brain cannot process the negative. Like if I ask you, hey, think of an elephant. Now think it's not an elephant. Or I say, hey, don't think of a lemon. We cannot process the negativity of it because you have to think of a lemon and then remove it. But then you can't control, hey, all right, a
right,
lemon
right,
has entered my mind.
right.
Now I
It's
can't get
gone.
rid of it.
Right, right.
It's gone, sometimes not. And like, so we don't have full control over our mental map or when it gets created and when we don't have
We need mental maps.
but we don't have the direct control over it because like if I
Right.
ask you, hey, that thing is there or that thing is there, now can you tell my brain, meaning the elephant, the primitive brain, that it is not there? It doesn't know how to do it.
It can't compute. So this is where the title of this reflection comes in. I've come to appreciate grief in this regard. It's the ultimate learning journey, and one of Amelia and my core values that when we live in for two every day is learn something new every day. And trust me, going through a grieving process, you will learn something new every single day because it is like you're rebuilding all of your mental maps of your
It's
mind.
it's almost like you are talking about the ultimate repair of a computer. Right? If
Yeah,
you imagine like the system glitch of a computer, this is the ultimate fix of a computer. You have to do many things to get it functional. To say, this is the ultimate learning journey.
yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, we wouldn't be talking today. Like, there's a reason why these books became our refuge for Amelia and I, because I had to reprogram in a lot of ways. I was beyond lost. And I was like, I'm just going to take a step, right? We'll figure out what we find when we take that step today. Reprogram. This makes sense now. Lock on to one thing that you can hold on to in reality, and then take another step, and take another step, and then find something new that you could hold on to and grip back onto and go, oh, okay, all right, imagination's important. Okay, great. Culture is important. Okay, great. Like a beaver must dam, don't run for trains, like like these things where you're rebuilding your mind palace, your memory palace, right?
Yeah.
And you're rebuilding the things that are comfortable, and that gives you stability and that gives you that feeling of being a human, I guess. Grief, it just wipes it all out, and it's like, go rebuild, like, or don't.
You rebuild from the ground up, and
Right.
I think that's a great analogy there, just because it's completely gone, completely wiped out. So either you build or you don't, but you have to build. It's not something that, hey, there is something there. It's completely gone. So all of the things that you learn is as if you're learning it for the first time.
It is. I mean, it really is. I mean, like all these lessons that we talk about on this journey. This is why I've told you many times, like Chris Sears before Amelia is not the same person you're talking to right now. I may look the same, I may act the same, I may talk the same, I may, but I'm not the same person. Like I'm not even close to the same person. It's like I feel like I'm a 60-year-old in a 39-year-old's body at this point in time, because I'm not supposed to know this shit. I feel like this is what happens when you get older and you have to go rebuild your paradigms, all the time, as you lose your spouse. Like my grandmother, my grandma, my dad's mother, my grandfather passed away. I feel like it's probably been like 10, 12 years ago now, or something along that. It might even be a little bit longer. I can't remember, but I know that she's been like, all of his shit is still in their house. One of the activities they did together all the time was garage sailing. They loved to go garage sailing, almost like American Picker style, where we just want to find shit and, got a good score today, like, well, I was, so like this is how like my grandfather was. And like their entire attic is filled with all of like their shit. Like it's just packed to the brim, and she like refuses to go up there because she's like, I can't process this. Like, I don't want to deal with this stuff. Like, I know where everything is. And like, I don't know. And she tells me all the time, when I was doing my grandma diaries, conversations with her, she's been relearning how to be herself, because her whole life, they were married for like 50 plus years or something like that, so everything about her life and everything about what she did, her identity, who they were, what they did or they didn't do, who they engaged with as friends, where they traveled, where she was allowed to travel to, wasn't allowed to travel to, like all these things. She's like having to be a new human being. Like, it's a lot, but you're not supposed to learn these things until you're fucking 80 years old, like you're not supposed to know this shit when you're 35, right?
Well, that's the norm. The norm is you don't learn about it until you're much older. But whether or not you're supposed to or not supposed to, that's something I don't know.
Fair. But I think this is why old people, when we have conversations about like, focus on your values, they get it. They just understand. They're like, yeah, I've been through all this. I've had to rebuild all this shit. Like, the only thing that I can hold on to is this stuff, and this is why I'm so cling to this shit. Because I'm like, I know that I've had to rebuild mental maps. I got to take something with me to be able to have a compass next time this fucking thing blows up again, because it's done it many a times now for me. And I'm fucking tired of it. So I'm just going to do what I got to do. That is where values come into play. They're like your anchor that can take you from reality to reality that blows up, and you're like, okay, I got this little magic bean bag of my values I can just pull out and go. I at least have something that I'm aware of that I can take to this next step, and you'll rebuild a map that makes sense.
I mean, the thing is, you're gonna have to have some kind of an anchor. Like, I mean, I guess the movie Inception is a pretty good analogy focus on something that and that's the only thing you can hold on to. It's like it's like your safe zone, or your goalpost, or the tree that stands in the midst of the tsunami that kind of washes everything. You have to hold on to that tree.
Right.
That is something you have to have. And for me, I think and I believe that human beings supposed to know this thing without having to go through the atomic bomb, without having to go through the trials and tribulations of society, and when you become old and run out of time before you learn this shit, right? I think human beings are supposed to learn it. It's just that for whatever reason we, stray away from that path of human rights. To me, that's a human right.
Yeah, it is. But we don't talk about the bad shit. We only talk about the good shit. We only talk about when somebody makes it through denting the universe and actually maybe puts a scratch in the universe or something like that. We don't talk about all the people that tried to dent the universe and ended up fucking schizophrenic.
What in like the most unbiased perspective, how many do you think went schizo, and how many becomes something that becomes a story inside, of a magazine? What would you think the ratio would be?
99 to 1, like 1 out of 100?
I would say 1 of at least 100 million, or at least more than that. Right. I mean, because how many Steve Jobs are there?
I mean, I don't know.
How many Mozarts are there?
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, I have no idea.
I'm saying is the odds.
Van Gogh killed himself,
99.9999999 to 1.
Probably.
Right?
Yep.
That is the probability. 97 to 3. That's the way you've been way too generous.
But we champion the people that
It's a the survivorship bias. This is what Taleb was saying. You know, people don't understand what he's saying because they can't comprehend that concept.
Right. They can't.
The only guy
we're like, well, that guy made it, like, you know, across the river, but you're like, you don't see the other 100 people that fucking died, you know, while they were on the Oregon Trail. All you see is the one guy without the broken axle and the oxen that's across the river, but everybody else is flushed down the.
You know, the enemy ran out of arrows or something.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not a good strategy.
The enemy said, "I only brought 1,000 arrows," and you know, you send 1,001 guy, and this one guy came back.
You know, like, why do we not talk about bad shit more often in our like, you know, the lessons from this stuff? I feel like old people, when I say old people, I mean like people that have experienced stuff, like, because you could be old and not maybe have experienced this stuff too. So I mean, I just think of the traditional elder, the person in your family that's experienced some grief and tragedy and heartache and loss and all this other stuff and still survived and kept going. But like, why do you think they don't talk about it as much?
I think it's more of a cultural thing because it's expectations of what you need to say, what you cannot say. Because like for today, there's a lot of politically correct terms and whatever. You can't say that, right? And so you don't know what you're supposed to do, so you don't do it. To me, it's a cultural thing. Just because we have been conditioned to say, hey, don't say these or don't say that, or I don't know what's gonna happen, blah blah blah. And so I think, you know,
but why do you care if you're 80 years old how society perceives you at that point in time? Who gives a shit?
You do, because you may not care for yourself, but like I said many times, you don't live for yourself. You live for others. I mean, you live for your daughter. You live for, like, your mom comes to you, hey, you know, Chris,
Right.
put Luca in daycare. This is what people do.
Right.
If she's insistent on it, there's nothing you can do. You can't say, you know, I don't agree, and you slam your fist down, but you can't do that, right? So it's not like, hey, I don't care. So you don't care what society thinks, but you do care what society thinks of the people you care about, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
right? And so it's not like, hey, you can just say, hey, you know, I live for myself and I can do whatever, I believe whatever you want. Your mom says it, your sister says it, her husband says it, or whatever. They cause an influence and impact on you and how much you can push. Because if they say, you know, this is the way it goes, and they're going to push you, or your wife insists on giving, you know, your kids, you know, antibiotics or whatever, it's not like you can shuffle away saying, hey, you know, you shall not touch my son. So you don't live for yourself, you live for others, because you are nothing without others. If a tree falls in a forest and there's no one to hear it at all in the universe, does it make a noise? So
yeah, I mean, it does.
Well, what's the definition of noise? It's not a clashing of the molecules of the air molecule. It is the perception of the clashing of the molecules. So you have to have a receiver. So without the receiver, there's no noise, because the definition of noise is the receiving of that of that action, of that clashing of the molecules together. And so, as a person, you are nothing without the people that care about you and the people you care about. Your life is worthless if there's no one you care about in the world. That's why people get depressed. This is why that's why
we care about grief.
Relationship is so important.
Right.
It's happening.
This is because, you know, this is why grief exists, because when you have meaningful relationships, like, if it wasn't meaningful, you wouldn't care. Like, if my neighbor across the street that I've never talked to, and I've lived here for 11 years
suddenly,
now,
you know, he's gone.
Whatever. Stalks. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what you look like.
But if you have care for that person, you create that connection. That connection is what creates this glitch in the system whenever that is served. It's not no longer there, but your brain can't process that now. Just like people have phantom pain in their arms when, you know, they're completely chopped, because they have a mental map of their appendages. Same thing is, in order for you to have this glitch, the connection has to be there. But human beings, we yearn for the connections. I don't care who you are. You can be the most introverted person. You still want to have one or two person in your circles to tell the good news. Hey, I've done this, or I caught this fish, or whatever it
or
is.
just to sit there with you. Amelia never spoke a word, but it was a meaningful relationship, right? Like it just being in the presence of somebody that you care about deeply.
Exactly. To
Like,
me, this is the thing
matters.
is, I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people who are lonely, they often have a companion, which is like a dog, right? And
Right.
to them, it makes the environment a completely different feeling because
It
you're
does.
present, because the dog can't talk to you, but
Right.
instead there's a presence of a living being that you care about and he cares about you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that connection, even from a person to a dog or a pet, it is making that
Or
very.
the universe. You can extrapolate that to anything. Grass growing and feel a connection, like because
Mhm.
animals eat it, then you eat the animals, and then you get to live. Like, I mean, there's a way to form that meaningful connection.
As
Brain,
human
right?
beings, we need connections.
We need
We
connections. Yeah, we
have
need,
to have
yes.
the connections.
I wholeheartedly agree with. Actually, I think I just came up with a thought as to why old people don't share this wisdom more often. I think it goes back to the idea of what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And it's like, fuck,
Okay, yeah, I think I get that. Just like I told you about the tree analogy, right?
right.
If a tree make a noise, if a tree falls down, but no one there to hear it, doesn't make a noise because when you say a story to the young one, they are
I don't know
unable
it.
to receive
Right.
it.
Right.
Therefore,
It's
they
irrelevant. It's
yes,
worthless. Like you can't share this wisdom with anybody other than people that understand this already, and those people are rarefied airs usually when it comes to age wise, right? So yeah, they probably all maybe talk, I don't know, maybe old people talk about this amongst themselves, but then they're losing so many people around them all the time that it's probably hard to like, you know, keep a
yeah. I
philosophical
mean,
dialogue
I
going
think
on.
strawberries are great and grapes are really tasty and delicious. Cows are, you know what I mean? I'm just
Right,
talking about stuff you like has nothing to do with you. What the heck are
right,
you talking about?
right.
That basically just stops the conversation and say, well, okay, I
You know
can't.
what it's like? It's psychedelics. Whenever you go on like a trip, right? Like, like Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind book, and
Hmm.
every time, like, it's such a connected experience using like your right brain connectivity. There is no words because words are linear, left brained. You have to comprehend and understand what that person's trying to relate to you, and like distilling all that. Everybody that's ever tried to tell me what their trip was like is like, it's like
Yeah, you're talking about
love,
going,
man.
going.
It's like love, man. Like, it's
Yeah, I
love,
mean exactly because if you say trip, right? You say, hey, you go on this trip. I say, well, I'm going from Houston to Austin, whatever. So you and I talking about trip, but my meaning of trip and your meaning of trip is completely different. Therefore, the
Sure.
conversation cannot connect, and this is the reason why I think you make a really good point. Is without the person be able to relate to what you're saying, it
It's
doesn't
worthless.
give you the feedback to continue because it more or less it cancels out that energy that you want to try to push out. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
just get it doesn't jive with the energy that you have.
Well, true. I don't even want to fucking recap this whole journey to people. Like, if they sat down right in front of us and said, "Hey, tell me everything that goes into clubbing," and we would go,
I don't have
"I
time to
can't
sit
tell
here
you
and
that."
tell you
And
about my stand, right? I want
I
to go tell Chris, maybe first then yes. The thing is, that is the energy that when we get together, it amplifies the energy because
right.
you
But it's
getting
meaningful.
you getting the energy reception from me, and we
Right.
receive the energy reception from you, and so that's where the energy comes from. I am getting a copy of your energy, and you add it to mine, it doubles,
Right.
but it doesn't subtract it from you. And then
It enhances it for me as well because
when I talk to you, right, I
Mhm.
have my own energy, right? Whatever this energy is, I have another energy on top of it because it matches. It matches my energy, your energy matches completely. So basically, it's like a frequency. It amplifies and it doubles it,
Right.
right? And so that's the way I'm getting extra energy from every single night I talk to you.
I
Same
agree.
thing for you is that you're getting your energy and the energy from me as well. But the energy that you get from me isn't coming from me. It's just coming from me, but isn't a subtraction. It's just a copy that's sent over. So the
Agreed, but I think there's energy from teaching too. Sharing is, I get
but I'm
energy.
saying the energy from sharing cannot be. You cannot get the energy from sharing.
I get a relearning energy out of this too. I've told you this many times. I forget what I wrote all the time. I read these and I'm like, oh, Yeah, that's a good one. I legitimately, it's like I'm first reading, I go into my own mental map and I'm like, I remember when I was reading this book. Oh, I remember when I was on a jog and I learned about mental maps and I was like, fuck, mental maps. I get it. Like, it's like that thing isn't there anymore.
So let me ask you this
Back,
question: that if you were to, let's say today, you read about these, we read this reflection, but then we don't have this conversation, would you continue to read it?
My reflections?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so I do every once in a while. Yes, I would continue to read them, but only because I would force myself to remember, because I know how important this is for me to remember my own,
Right, but that's not the
stuff.
energy, right? That
No,
is
no,
your,
it's
that's
it's
your
more of a
power.
forced. I
Yeah,
don't
because
remember fucking any
you're
of these.
you're
Yeah,
reading this because you have the, I guess, the expectation. Say, hey, I got something to tell True. But if there were no True, or no somebody like True that you talk to, you reading this, and yes, it does jog your memory, but it requires your willpower to do that, because eventually you will stop reading it. You may
yeah.
read it once in a while, but you're not. It's not just like you go. Let's say you go and say, your realtor call you back for the place that you want to open a pickleball, right? Well, the thing is, if you have great news and you want to share with me, but I'm not there no more, then that complete energy that you had wouldn't have been there.
Yep, I
The
agree.
energy of sharing is that you share it to the people who can receive it. And when they receive it, it basically
Gives you
gets
energy.
sent back to
That's
you.
right. That's
Because
exactly.
you can go and tell that to, I don't know, Blake or Snow, or whoever has no interest in pickleball or what you have to do. Let's say you tell it to your boss and he has no interest in you. How much energy?
They wouldn't give a fucking shit about any of this stuff. It's actually negative energy because I would feel like I
It's
would. I
absorbed the energy. It doesn't bounce back.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying is sharing. The caveat of sharing is not just sharing, is you have to share to the right people that can receive it.
right.
Because if I don't understand what you're saying, Chris, like if I'm speaking Vietnamese and you're speaking English, there is no energy. You can tell your boss or your
Right.
coworker or whoever that is, basically the guy who just happened to walk down the street. Okay, I'll tell him about my great pickleball visions of how I like to do this, right?
Right.
What energy you get from it, right?
Nothing.
If you have a great news about that, you're gonna run out and tell the guy in the street, I want to tell you, so I get the energy. So the energy is not about the sharing; it's the sharing to the people that understands it, that can receive it,
Right. I
right?
agree.
And so I think we want to make sure that that's clear, because I realize that sharing isn't enough. They have to find the right people to share it with.
100%. I mean,
So go back to what we
even
said.
your own self isn't worth sharing to, like 20 years ago. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we've said this so many times. We're like, even your own fucking self isn't going to listen to you. Like, why would my grandmother, who's almost 90 years old now, waste her precious energy trying to, in her last, who knows how much time she has left, but hopefully a long time. Let's just say she lives to 120. She got 30 years left of her life. Why would she want to devote any of that time and energy to people that don't give a fuck about what she's saying?
saying
Energy.
I
She doesn't
mean,
care.
all the energy you give out, it's just being absorbed or bounced in some,
Right.
neither, and then you continue have to use your willpower to exert more energy out there. It's just exhausting. And so,
It's
like, the act
horrible.
of sharing isn't enough. The act of sharing has to have somebody to receive it, and it's going to, because if you say something and I don't have an expression. I don't agree. I don't disagree. Right? You think about that scenario, and we
Talking to
we
a
we,
wall.
we
I
can
mean, I
play
could go
along,
talk. I could go
right?
talk to a wall too. You know what I mean? This is cool. Thanks for this. I have one employee that I inherited that is kind of like that, where I feel like he doesn't really want to engage in any of the conversations we're having, and he's
Mm.
like, I mean, I don't want this to sound negative, but he's still kind of new to me. But I can kind of tell I haven't really broken through, and it's like, why am I wasting my time? If he feels like this is a waste of time with everybody else that I've been with for the past year plus, we like to share. That's a part of our culture because we care. We all want to help each other and we all want to share, and we all want to, grow together, right, and learn together. But you're right. Like I can tell when it on the other end is like I don't really want to give anymore. Like I don't mind. I can, but like I don't know that I want to. You know, it's like,
But that's the thing
why
is
devote any time to this?
you get exhausted because you're draining the energy because you have no feedback. It's
Right.
about the feedback, because if
That's
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
say anything, if you say something and I'm just gonna look like, I'm not moving, or I say,
Yeah. Like, fuck this
yeah,
shit. Like, this is worthless. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right.
the thing is, you can tell, for example, if I go like this, yeah,
Right.
because I'm not looking at you. There's no feedback, and
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I don't care how much energy you have. You're gonna run out of energy just because you
Oh
have
yeah.
to use willpower. And
Yep.
because if I look at you and say, yes, I agree, and I'm enthused, that enthused, right? That authenticity and enthused frequency is bounced back at you. This
Mhm.
is the feedback you need to gain energy. That's just why when you and I get together, even after a long day, we're so tired. But after we talk, like, we have this really high emotion and we have energy.
Yeah, I
That's
learned again.
it,
Like, I mean, I'm glad that I learned again and I had this conversation again. Like, I mean, I forgot this fucking book. Honestly, if you asked me to rattle off out of the 320-ish books on this whole entire series or whatever, like rattle off as many books as I could possibly name, like just name the book, like let alone the lesson from it. I bet I wouldn't crack 100.
right.
You think so? You think I would?
No,
I don't either. I mean,
for
like,
me, it's I probably can't even crack.
the only reason you're spot on with a lot of that stuff. This is an interesting conversation.
We have learned something. We have
Yeah,
learned
yeah.
something through our discussion, and this is why it energizes us, because you understand what I'm saying, and
Mhm.
you actually was able to pick up a little concept and nuance and feed it back to me. I see that concept and it makes sense. And when
Right.
it makes sense, I'm expanding on it. And then it makes you also interested, and it just compounds to get better and better. But if I continue to receive and drain, it becomes gone. So this is why I really think that our, I guess the slogan or tagline of a company is meaningful work and meaningful relationship is a yin and yang of company, because if you have meaningful work, you do something really great, whatever it is. Hey,
Right.
I play tennis or I do this company
Right.
thing. If you have no one that you can tell to the meaningful relationship, the
It's not.
meaningful work
It's work.
doesn't exist.
It's worthless. Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean,
It does
but
not become meaningful
they
work unless you
it is
have the
both.
relationship,
Right.
have the meaningful relationship.
It is both. I mean, every single one of my employees to a T has told
Hmm.
me, they're like, if this team that I'm on right now and you as my leader were not present, I would leave
Hmm.
this job tomorrow. Like, every single one of them has told me that to a T. And I agree with them. If they
Hmm.
all were like, I don't want to be in this role and on this team, and Chris just needs to go rebuild all this stuff. I just lost your video, but I would be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, even if the CEO of the company came to me and was like, hey, Chris, you've done an amazing job with this team. I want you to go redo all this stuff in another area. I'd be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I like my team. We can all go together if you want me, but
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
got more people, but
I don't want to go. This is like marriage. You could be like, hey, you had a great marriage for the past 4 years. I'm going to offer
I'm
you a
not gonna pair
promotion.
you with this
Yeah,
person who is the
yeah.
emotionally damaged.
You're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm in a great marriage over here. Like, I like my marriage. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it does, because it doesn't matter. You're right, unless you have meaningful relationships. All right, let's put a pin on this one, because I'm ready to go to bed. I'm
Yeah.
officially gassed with my stupid fucking rucksacking. I need to go get my sleep so I can get my ruck on in the morning.
You only half month in.
I know, man. God. Well, today I didn't just do a rucksack run. Like, this is what happens. This is who I am, and I'm okay with it. But like, I'm doing all of my normal workouts now, in addition to running, with the rucksack on this whole entire month. So like, I didn't just go on a 3.5 mile run this morning. I did like 200 push-ups and body weight squats and whatever in the middle of a paleo run while I was running with the rucksack on. Like, it's even worse, right? Like, it's like, what am I fucking doing? Like, now I'm just making hard workouts even harder with wearing a fucking rucksack plate on the back of my body, and I'm really tired. My body hurts. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and Miley lets you know.
The original intention of this was to go, I'm going to go on a 1 mile. So from my house around the park, down the street, and back to my house is 1.1 miles, right? I was like, I'm going to go 1.1 mile run with this rucksack, drop my rucksack
Drop it off.
at home, and go
Right.
do whatever other workouts I want to do. That was the original idea that I had in my head. I was like, I could do a 1.1 mile rucksack run. What happened was day one, I did that first day, and I dropped it off, and I was like, okay. The next day I was like, maybe I can do my normal circuit. And I was like, let's give it a go. So I did it. And I felt okay with that. And then the next day I was like, what if I just did my normal paleo run that I would do on Wednesdays anyway with this on and see how I feel then? I was like, well, I survived. I guess I can keep going. The next day I was like, well, this is my long run day. Why don't I just wear it on my long run day? Now I just have a rucksack on my back every day, all day long when I'm doing my workout. And it's completely out of spiraling in a compound effect in a different, and I guess in a good way. I don't know. Or in some way I did not expect. Anyway, all right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining,
right.
and we will see you all tomorrow. And your question we can leave with you is how have you learned from grief in your life if you've ever experienced it? And if you haven't, that's okay. That's a good thing.
All right. Well,
Thanks for joining.
that's it. See you in